Hey, I'm Stephanie, and future me wants me to save my money. Present me wants to try all the new things, and past me is glaring at present me, waving old receipts around like warning flags. Meanwhile, Black Friday likes to watch all three versions of me fight. Today, I'm walking you through the thought process that I use to keep all three me's on speaking terms, using real empties, a little bit of PR, and a few things that I decided to buy this sale season. Not because I want you to buy them, but because I want to share the logic that I use to decide what actually deserves my budget and what I think will genuinely add some value to my life. If you're on a no buy or a low buy, I get it. This kind of video can feel a little bit like emotional dodgeball for some of us. There will be some glowing reviews, also a few disappointments, but if you need to click out, I fully support that. Give me a wave emoji before you leave though, just so I know you are here. But if you are curious about how I decide what's worth it and what gets wishlisted, or in the rare dramatic case, gets escorted to my own personal blacklist, let's get started. Today's video is going to be pretty skincare heavy just because that's where the majority of my budget is going this year, and we'll get into why in a bit. But to kick things off, here are three things that I am definitely buying this Black Friday season. In fact, I've already bought two of them. But quick transparency while we're here, I do link everything I discuss in my description in case you want to take a closer look, and those links are affiliate links, which means I earn a small commission if you choose to shop through them. It never costs you extra, it can sometimes save you money, and I always list full product names so that you can search for them yourself if you prefer, because I never want to hide things behind vague links. As a viewer, that always feels a little bit gatekeepy to me. And just so you know, every product that I'm talking about splurging on today is something that I am paying for out of my own personal budget. The first is Calecim skincare. My favorite trio is the pink serum and the two creams. They're pricey, but they're one of the few things that make my skin look calmer and healthier when everything else is acting up. And I only restock there when there's a strong sale, just because that's the only way I can swing it. The second is Photozyme. The whole DNA repair approach is new for me, but after a lot of research, I think it's a smart thing for me to add. I spend a lot of time in the sun, and even with sunscreen, I tend to get very tan. So I'm treating this as preventative care, and you'll see why when we get into the details. And the third is my NIRA device. I use it on my whole face, my neck, my décolletage, and it feels like one of the most effective devices that I have tried for lines and firmness, right up there with my red light mask. My old NIRA Pro broke, which was completely my fault. We'll get into that story later, but I have missed it enough that I am going to repurchase it, even though it hurts my wallet a lot. I'll link everything below with brief notes about what I bought and why, and we'll come back to the logic behind those choices later in the video. But to make those splurge decisions make sense, we need a bit of context, the empties and the PR that shaped them. Everything is timestamped so you can jump to whatever you need, and let's start with this empty. I bought the Prequel Pre-Cleanse cleansing oil along with the Glenzer and the salicylic acid cleanser during last year's Black Friday sales because I had run out of all three categories, a pre-cleanse, a final cleanse, and a body wash. The Glenzer caught my eye because it is made for sensitive skin, it's non-stripping, and it has the National Rosacea Society stamp of approval. And as someone dealing with hormonal rosacea, that felt promising. And I picked up the salicylic acid version specifically for ingrown hairs because I had been dealing with some and I thought it might help to use a salicylic acid body wash. The pre-cleanse is completely empty, not because I loved it, but because I wanted it gone. It irritated my eyes and sometimes my skin, and I don't even feel like it removed makeup very well. So this will not be a repurchase. I mainly used it to wash swatches off of my arms for review videos because I did not enjoy it on my face at all. The Glenzer, on the other hand, hasn't been irritating my skin, which is great. When I'm done washing my face, it actually feels gently moisturized as opposed to stripped, so it's nice in that capacity. But I wonder if the gentleness might be at the cost of effectiveness, because I often felt like it didn't get my face completely clean on the first go. The salicylic acid version does pretty much the same thing, and I'll use both of them up because they're gentle enough. I just don't think I'll repurchase either of those. When the pre-cleanse ran out though, I got a PR package from Yopoda with their cleansing duo, and this has been a much better experience. First of all, I actually feel like this pair removes my makeup, and my Glenzer has definitely been on the back burner since these arrived. The packaging is glass, it feels heavy and quality, and it looks cute in my bathroom. The downside is that glass isn't really great for travel travel, but if you don't travel, then that's not a problem. The Calm Balm does contain coconut oil, which can be an issue for some people, but it is clinically tested as non-comedogenic, so it's not supposed to clog pores. Plus, I have been combining it with the Bubble Double Cleanser, which includes salicylic acid, an ingredient that really cleans out pores. So even with my hormonal acne, I haven't noticed things getting any worse with this duo. The Bubble Double Cleanser is good, but I think it might be a bit much for my skin. I definitely feel like it cleans better than the Cleanser, but unlike the Prequel one, my face doesn't feel moisturized afterwards. It doesn't leave me feeling tight or itchy, but I do feel like I need to use a moisturizer right away. And on rosacea flare-up days, plus this little patch of eczema that I'm developing here, it can feel just a little bit aggressive. So I will happily use up both Yepoda cleansers in the duo because I feel like they're effective. I just don't think I'll repurchase them because they're not made for my skin. But Yepoda was also kind enough to send me 2 products from their skincare line, the Mist Have Hyaluronic Lavender Hydrating Mist and the Glow Hero Bakuchiol Oil Serum Hybrid. And these were a much better fit for me. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I did No Buy July and No Lust August where I wasn't buying anything. And that is precisely when my favorite skincare ran out on me. And if you don't know what that is, we're going to get to it in a second, so don't worry. But when that ran out, I decided that I wanted to wait until Black Friday to repurchase it because I have champagne taste on a beer budget and I wanted to save some money. So in the meantime, I used what I already had at home, which turned out to be Diaper-Cream. Sexy, I know. But it works better than you'd think. It's moisturizing, it's occlusive, and the zinc can be great for rosacea. The maximum strength version was okay at night, but it did make me look like an absolute ghost. And it was almost impossible to rinse out of my pores in the morning. So I ended up switching to the sheer sink version, which I also had. And it does leave a tiny white cast, but under makeup it's fine, and it kept my skin comfortable. But here's the thing. I used to be able to get away with a super simple skincare routine. Up until perimenopause, I was lucky enough to have really easy skin. I never had acne. My skin was a little dry, but generally pretty balanced. And although I had rosacea, I was always able to keep it 100% under control with just diet and sleep. So my entire skincare routine for most of my adult life was just cleansing, a $3 moisturizer from Aldi, and sunscreen. But perimenopause hit me like a truck. Suddenly, I've got hormonal acne, rosacea flare-ups, a little eczema right here, plus deeper lines, a loss of plumpness, and hyperpigmentation that has seemed to appear overnight. I don't need to look 20, aging is normal, but the speed and intensity of the changes has been really jarring, and I would like to slow the pace just enough so that I can emotionally keep up with it. The reality is that my skin just needs more support now, and a simple one-and-done moisturizer or diaper cream isn't enough anymore, and that is why layering the Yepoda products under the diaper cream helped my skin look a little bit more like itself again. The Mist Have spray has been great, and it even feels a little soothing, which surprised me because I was wondering if the lavender might aggravate my rosacea, but it doesn't, and this adds a light hydrating layer that makes even the thicker diaper cream glide on so much more easily. So I have been using this morning and night. The Glow Hero Serum is lovely too, but it really does live up to its name. It gives a lot of glow, and it looks lovely, but it is a bit much for my oily combo skin during the day, so I have only been using this one at night. So would I repurchase either of these? I really like them, so it is tempting, but it's hard to say, and here's why. In my hand, I am holding a 17-page skincare plan for next year. It's filled with ingredients and testing methodologies that I have been researching so that I can find what will work best for my specific skin issues. I am really curious about a bunch of these science-backed products, but here's the thing. I am a simple skincare girly at heart. If something is not going to benefit me, I don't want to buy it, and I don't want to waste time smearing it on my face. So I have planned to test the various ingredients individually in 3-month-long trials, because that's how long it typically takes to see results when we use actives like the ones I will be testing. And in some cases, I will even be doing head-to-head comparisons of my favorite expensive products on one half of my face with more affordable versions on the other half to see if the higher price price tag is really worth it. I even have timetables, rating systems, the whole nerdy setup in here just to keep things as objective as possible. And I'm hoping to use all of this information to create an optimized skincare routine for myself going forward based on the scientific method, one that actually makes tangible, visible differences in my skin. And I feel like the only way to know if individual products are making those differences is to test them on their own for 3 months. So if you want to follow that journey, then make sure you're subscribed. So what will I be buying for this year-long experiment? Well, you already got a preview of these at the start, but here is the full story on why I chose the specific items and how I'll use them. My first 2 purchases have already been made, and the very first thing I did was finally replenish my favorite Calecim skincare. It consists of the professional serum, which I lovingly refer to as pink goat juice because it literally smells like goat. But if smelling like a goat for a few minutes a week is the price that I have to pay for more resilient skin, it is a price I pay happily. It also includes the multi-action cream and the restorative hydration cream. I go into more detail about this regimen in my review, so I'll link that video here and in the show notes. But my thoughts on the products have changed since then, so here is my update. In that review, I said that although I was truly impressed with the results that I got, I would not be repurchasing the products myself because they are so expensive that they would just take up most of my beauty budget. That has obviously changed because I have since bought them with my own money. What happened was I slowly ran out of the Calecim products after that review, and I noticed my skin slowly lose all the gains it had made while I was testing the Calecim products. So I decided to just buy less makeup and buy Calecim instead. And if you have seen my makeup collection, you know I don't need any more makeup anyway. The second thing that changed is I originally purchased just the serum and the multi-action cream because I felt like those made the most dramatic changes to my fine lines and my plumpness and my elasticity. And I didn't really feel like the restorative hydration cream added all that much hydration. And I do still hold that opinion, but I ended up going back and repurchasing the restorative hydration cream myself too, not for hydration, but because the cream helps me with my redness. When I only added the serum and the multi-action cream back into my regimen, I noticed that the improvements in texture and lines and plumpness came back pretty quickly. But the redness that had gone away during my testing stuck around. And the only thing I was doing differently was that I didn't have the restorative hydration cream anymore. Lo and behold, when I broke down and bought it and then added it back in, my redness improved again. I've tried azelaic acid, hypochloric acid, zinc, all of which are supposed to help with redness. And they made tiny differences, but the restorative hydration cream seemed to do more for me on its own than any of those 3 ever did, even when combined. It's still not a miracle worker. I still have redness when I use it. It's just that it's the biggest difference that I have seen in my skin, and it definitely looked better. So I ended up repurchasing all 3 Calecim products with my budget. Luckily, Calecim's Black Friday sale is pretty awesome. Depending on how much money you spend, you get free full-sized products. So for example, you can just buy the professional serum and the restorative hydration cream, and then you can get a full-sized multi-action cream as a free gift. So since those are the 3 products I use, that's a great option. If you are like me and you like to restock your Calecim goodies exclusively during sales, Black Friday is a great time, and my affiliate code StumbleInStyle will give you an additional 15% off. But if now is not the right time, Calecim has great sales several times a year. So this is not a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There will always be another sale because I know these things are pricey. Plus, I feel like they're aimed towards not necessarily only mature skin, but skin that is starting to show the first real signs of aging. I would not have felt like I needed this in my early or maybe even mid-30s. I know that some people are really into being ahead of the curve when it comes to skincare. I just think there are other ingredients that might be more useful if you want to stay ahead of the curve, especially if you have a limited budget and you need to prioritize things. If you do love starting earlier and you have the budget for it, that's great. It's just how I would choose to prioritize my own routine. And speaking of ingredients that help you stay ahead of the curve, that's what led me to my next Black Friday purchase, DNA repair enzymes from Photozyme MD. This is something I've been researching for a while because I am a beach bunny. I grew up on the ocean, and to this day, I still live near water. I spend every free minute in warm weather on the water, in the water or near the water, which means I get a ton of sun. Despite the fact that I wear broad spectrum sunscreen and wide brimmed hats and massive sunglasses and protective clothing, I still get a dark tan every year. Over the decades, that is a massive accumulation of sun exposure. And when I went to see my dermatologist for my annual skin cancer check, he remarked that I had quite a bit of sun damage popping up. And he also told me that my rosacea makes my skin barrier even more susceptible to damage from environmental factors. So I wanted to see if there was anything I could do to help myself, and I fell down the rabbit hole of DNA repair enzymes. I can do a more extensive video about what I've learned if you want, so leave a sun emoji for me in the comments if you'd like me to make that video, but the part that's relevant to my purchase is this. According to my research, and I'll link some studies in the show notes, always make sure to do your own research though, because I am not a doctor or a scientist. DNA repair enzymes not only make sunscreen much more effective in preventing skin cancer, but they also help the skin maintain things like elasticity and smoothness, because repairing DNA keeps the skin healthier at a cellular level, helping to maintain things like collagen and elastin. There are several great brands out there, but it is important to look for a well-made formula if you want your DNA repair enzyme skincare, also known as a DRE product, to be effective. Another thing to keep in mind with DRE products is that this type of skincare is more of a preventative measure than a curative one for most people. Although it does have the potential to repair some visible damage that we already have, what it really does is help to prevent further damage from accumulating. So I think of it kind of like a sister to sunscreen. I wear SPF every day to protect my skin, but I don't expect to see improvements in my skin because of it, because it's a protective measure. And I think of DNA repair enzymes in the same way. However, I have a beauty channel. So I will be adding DNA repair enzymes from Photozyme MD to my skincare regimen for 3 months, and that will be the only change that I make to my skincare in that time. And then we can see if there are any improvements to the texture, firmness, or pigmentation in my skin. And that way we can see together whether it just protects or whether it also has the potential to improve the skin too. So if you're in it for the long haul like I am and you want to see the results, then make sure to subscribe, like this video, comment on it, even if it's just an emoji, because the more you interact with this one, the more likely you are to see the updates. So why did I choose to try DNA repair enzymes now? Well, honestly, if I'd known about them sooner, I would have started sooner. I spent every summer in the sun as a kid and as a teen, but back then I would never have had the budget for something like this. And now that I do, and now that I know how much sun damage I've accumulated, I feel like it's the right time for me to make it a priority, especially because I also already use Calecim, which has growth factors, and I think that Photozyme will complement that regimen well. Why did I choose Photozyme specifically, and what did I choose to get? Well, number one, I chose Photozyme because it was easy to see that they use liposomes in their formulation, and so I thought that was a great sign. Number two, I chose to get a bundle because a bundle is already cheaper than buying the individual products, plus I had a code for a 40% off discount. So I chose their bestsellers bundle with their DNA Youth Recovery Facial Serum and the Omega 36 Body Complex. I recently ran out of my body moisturizer, so this bundle was by far the most convenient one for me. My code with Photozyme is Stumble in Style, and that will give you 40% off through the end of November. And if you're watching this video at any other time, I think the discount is 25% off. The third reason that I chose Photozyme is that it is not integrated into a sunscreen. There are sunscreens out there that contain DNA repair enzymes, and that combination is great in theory because you not only get the protective sunscreen, but you also get that repair aspect with the enzymes. But I am currently searching for a cosmetically elegant mineral sunscreen that looks great under makeup and is unscented. That alone seems like a unicorn. But if you add DNA repair enzymes to that wish list, there is just nothing on the market that meets all 5 criteria. I'll link some hybrid and chemical sunscreens with DNA repair enzymes in the show notes in case you want to take a closer look. My favorite facial sunscreen to date has been the St. Jane Luxury Sun Ritual. It looks beautiful under makeup. It never irritates my rosacea. I even feel like it makes my skin look a little bit better when I'm not wearing anything. The only drawback is the scent. since perimenopause, my sensitivity to fragrance has been unpredictable. Some days it's fine, and some days it just drives me up the wall. So as much as I love this formula, I am looking for an unscented alternative. What they really need to do is just make an unscented version of this exact sunscreen. In the meantime, I'm definitely going to use it up, which means I'm happy to have the DNA repair enzymes separate from my sunscreen. But there's another reason too, because DRE products can be applied in the morning and at night. One of the enzymes in Photozyme is actually triggered by light, so applying it in the morning makes the product more effective. But if I were to spend a long day out in the sun, then applying them at night can help my repair process. And I don't want to be applying sunscreen at 10 p.m. all summer just so I can get some extra repair enzymes. And the last thing I plan to buy is a replacement, but this one hurts a little bit. It is my NIRA Pro laser. I dropped this. Not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times. And on that 4th time, it broke, which is clearly on me. I don't go in for any in-office skincare treatments, so several years ago when I started to notice my fine lines, I invested in this little laser. It uses controlled heat in the skin to stimulate collagen over time, which is why I feel like it's helped me with my fine lines, and I saw a visible difference after a few months. I didn't make beauty content back then, so I didn't take any before and after pictures, but the difference was obvious enough to convince me on a personal level, so I kept using it, especially because it's so quick and easy. It's much faster than using something like a microcurrent device. And I mean, I have a zip and I really like it. I've been using it for years, but it's just more of an act to use it. You know, it takes more time and energy. You have to put goop on your face to make it work, and you have to use it religiously every day if you want to maintain the improvements. But the NIRA laser is just much quicker, and I feel like once I achieved the improvement after the initial 90 days, I can forget to do this once in a while and I still keep the results. So I'm buying this again. And I guess the silver lining is that they came out with a new and improved model of it this year that's supposedly even more effective. I still wish I hadn't dropped this because I was honestly perfectly happy with the old version. But I guess another advantage is also that I can test this in my skincare 2026 extravaganza because this has been broken all year. So by the time I get to my 3-month test phase for the NIRA, I will be starting from scratch again, and I can document it this time with before and after pictures. Another question I have been getting recently is, do I still regularly use my red light therapy mask? Because I did a video a while ago on the benefits of red light therapy, and I'll link that for you in the show notes if you want to take a closer look. The answer is I did stop using the mask over the summer because my shoulder pain was so bad that I was having difficulty putting this on. But now that my shoulder is starting to feel better, I have started using it again on the regular. The same people have asked if I would repurchase my Omnilux mask or if I would get something else instead. And I have to say, I think that the Omnilux mask is really good and I'm really happy with the results that it's given me. But I purchased this a long time ago when there weren't many options out there on the market. But the market is now completely saturated with great options. And some of the newer masks I think have better features. For example, Current Body offers a mask that not only covers the face, but also under the chin, which is great. And they certify the intensity, frequency, and coverage of their LEDs, which would give me a lot of confidence in its effectiveness. So that's a really strong contender. Then Dr. Rajani also makes a mask with a chin section, but it has a hair section too. So if you're dealing with hair thinning, that might be a great one to look into as a 3-in-1, head, face, and chin. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Then Maysama offers one that also covers the lips, which I think is great. Plus, it also offers a pulsed light setting, which according to some studies is even more effective than steady state red light. So if I had to replace my Omnilux mask, I would probably consider one of those options now. But I personally wouldn't go out and purchase any of those while this one is still working because I feel like it's doing a great job. But at this point, I'd like to say, I don't think that skincare always has to be about fancy lotions, potions, and doodads. Sometimes it's just about using what we already have more regularly. And we can even support our skin through other small changes in our lives. I know that I have been trying to slowly build some habits that feel doable for me, and they have helped my skin feel a little bit more stable. And I've been working with my doctors to figure that out. I know that not everyone can do that, but I have had some help, and I do notice a difference. And I think that that's a huge and underrated aspect of skincare. Our skin can be incredibly sensitive to what's going on in our life. Stress, sleep, hormones, medications, genetics, weather, all of the fun surprises that our bodies love to throw at us. So if you are frustrated that the products that work for me are expensive, I understand. But every product in this video had to argue its case to at least two versions of me. If it can't convince future me and past me, then present me isn't allowed to put the thing in my cart. And the only reasons that I felt okay buying these things are that I budgeted for them, I researched them, and I did as much groundwork as I could with habits first. For me, the small basics that I can manage, like hydration, rest, some movement when I can, eating real food when life cooperates, those things make really big differences. The products just build on that foundation. And if your budget is going to more important things right now, then watching, learning, and not buying are just as valid. I'm also using the sales to replace some of my empty hygiene products and a couple of my more utilitarian makeup items, but I feel like this video will turn into a tumbleweed of the interwebs if I make it too long. If you'd like to hear about those replacements, then let me know with a flower emoji and I would be happy to make that video. And if you want to see a video of products that were on my wish list but never made it onto my shopping list, then leave me a devil emoji. And if you're still here, that is an act of endurance. So send me a muscle emoji to let me know that I'm not just talking to the void. If you enjoyed this discussion, then you might like this one here too. Thanks so much for hanging out, and to all of my patrons and channel members, including my Adagio angels, for making content like this possible. I hope we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.